was that kid that was like 6-year-old. Back in my day, we used to go outside and kick a ball. You were 6.
I understand you, but I'm the complete opposite.
Makes an announcement. Basically says, I testify that this is now my son. I've adopted him, and he will inherit from me, and I'll inherit from him. Basically, he's a Qurayshi now.
So naturally, a person's going to ask, why would this young man marry this slave class woman, and she's really old? Well, the Prophet ﷺ said, she is from the women of Jannah. So Zaid wanted to marry her.
There was two guys arguing online on Twitter about like their favorite superheroes growing up, and one guy was Spider-Man and one was Power Rangers.
Roll Back Home is hands down one of my favorite podcasts.
Islamic reminders and comedy? How does that work?
Dude, 1 minute I'm laughing, the next minute I'm rethinking my whole relationship with Allah.
I usually only listen to lectures, but this is a nice way to relax.
It feels like you're just chilling with your friends and reflecting on the deen.
You actually learn a lot too. It's way more than just jokes.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, so we're live, brother. But what were you saying about that jacket?
It's one of my favorite sweaters. I like when I like something and I get something that's new, whether it's shoes, sweater, hat, I kill it. Like it's only gonna last 6 months to a year.
So you wear nothing else except that thing?
For a while. These pants, that's an example. This sweater my brother-in-law gave me, but it's like gives you that Patagonia vibe, and I never felt high class until.
You know what they call those in the Bay Area?
What?
They call it Patagucci.
For real? Yeah, I actually remember when I was going to school there.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mama wearing them.
They call it Patagucci. They're mad expensive too.
I know. I never realized like.
And do they come with backpacks? Because everybody I know, they're all wearing backpacks, bro. Yeah. They're like, yo, we gonna code any second. It's like how people wear basketball shorts under their. It's these guys. They always got a laptop ready to like create an app. You know? Shout out to the founders out there.
Yeah.
So episode 6.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Season 2, episode 6. Final episode of the season. Before inshallah season 3, where we go into the Meccan period of the Prophet ﷺ after Wahy, right? So this is basically the last episode before prophethood. So I'm excited, but I want to get started by saying, what was your childhood like game, the favorite game? You know, like doesn't even have to be like an actual console; it could just be any
video game. I'd say. Then was it the Nintendo 64 where you had to go like the whole and put it back into the game?
Yeah, the cartridges.
Yeah.
I think
Nintendo 64, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So that console was amazing, just for that simple.
You're weird, dude.
Function, right? Like that's wow. Like that's prime.
I didn't tell you what your favorite type of labor was. I was talking about the game.
True.
You was that kid that they gave the controller that wasn't hooked up to anything.
I had too many older siblings for me to be playing properly.
100%, bro. You don't have a favorite game because they never let you. They never let you play.
No, I forgot the name. Oh! It was that one guy. And I told you this before, and I still couldn't remember, and you remembered it.
Spyro?
No, not Spyro.
I remember Spyro.
It was he looked like a fox.
Crash Bandicoot?
Crash Bandicoot. I was thinking Crash Bandicoot in my head, but I don't know why I didn't. Yes, Crash Bandicoot. Wow, that was amazing.
Crash Bandicoot, no lie.
That was one of my favorites.
He walked around with jeggings on, I think.
Yeah, he had no shirt, right?
Yeah, no shirt, jeggings. Yeah, kind of a bad boy.
Surfing in the river. Oh, man, those games.
Kind of a bad boy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then the staple, Mario Kart.
Oh, fire.
Yeah,
Mario Kart's still around now. Bro.
Yeah, I'd play it any day.
Nintendo 1, I was like, you know Zelda?
No, not
Zelda,
really.
Link.
It's a fighting game.
Kind of like one player.
Story mode type
thing, yeah. He's trying to find Zelda. Well, no, the game is Zelda. The girl's name is Zelda, I believe. This is like 1 billion years ago. His name's Link. I thought it was fire.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with it. I'm sure a lot of people. I've heard it a lot. I've never played it.
Do you remember Spyro?
Oh, my goodness.
The flying purple dragon?
Dude, that game was amazing, too.
You know, why you think it's good? I know why I thought it was good, but...
I don't know, the story mode was just I loved it.
There was a story?
Story mode.
I don't remember.
Like
if
you're
there was
going
a
like
story.
different levels and missions, and you know.
I don't remember the story. You know why I liked it? Because it was a game about nothing. And, you know, I tell you, like, my whole life is high stakes. Even if it's just bowling, like with the homies, I came to win.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't like playing things I'm able to lose.
I feel you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to play the games that are nonsense because I can't lose.
I understand you, but I'm the complete opposite.
How you know? You never actually got to play.
I thought you were going to say I never actually lost. That would have been true, too.
Nah, I had your ass on the pool table many a time.
But here's the thing.
Pause. That sounded crazy. That sounded crazy.
I never shy away from losing. Like, I don't care to lose. I don't. I genuinely don't. That's why. And I don't care to look stupid either in the process.
Yeah, that's why you're a stupid loser.
Hey.
You know?
Hey.
You know, I play to win, and I don't like looking dumb.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's why I'm out here winning.
So when you lose, you're dumb, or you look dumb?
If I lose, you know, I've lost sense of self. Yeah. It's over for me.
So you've lost a lot. Huh?
No, I'm still out here. I'm still okay up here. You know. Well, I like Spyro for that reason. I like the FIFA.
Never played.
FIFA.
Never played. Like when I say never, I mean like never. Maybe my whole life, maybe 3 games.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was never a person who liked to play games that entailed like a sports game. I always wanted to play physical sports. I always felt like it was a cop out to play.
You was that kid that was like 6 years old. Back in my day, we used to go outside and kick a ball. You were 6.
I was 6. You saying?
Yeah, like you were like an old man in a kid's body. You were just like, "What are you doing here playing these games all night? We should go outside."
I was, and it's funny like. Yeah, even my friends who were actually really good at playing sports enjoyed playing the video games. So, you know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily a cop-out. I just looked at it as a cop-out.
Okay, and so I liked FIFA, even though obviously it was a high stakes game. But I used to always play on like easy mode. And I used to play like, I'll be like Real Madrid, and I'll be playing like I don't know, a bunch of teens or something. Like I'd find like some wild like name that, you know, got way too many syllables. I just play them because I just win by myself. But then I slowly started getting better and better. I promise you there was a time. This is around 2016 FIFA. People would come to my house and I would just one by one pick them off.
I remember this actually.
And it was bragging rights to beat me. Bragging rights, bro. People would tweet. I remember my friends, they would tweet, "Yo, I just beat Sammy in FIFA." And they'd get likes because people knew what that meant.
Yeah.
And then 2017,
they should have just challenged you in the real world.
Okay, I'm going to get back to winning.
All right.
That was harsh, but okay. I understand.
Listen,
that was a good shot.
I already took 3 straight. I already took like 3 shots.
Okay, that's true. That was a good shot. That's a good shot. I'm not going to lie. But 2017, 2018, it was as if I've never played the game in my life. It wasn't even bragging. People just beat me on their way to school. Like it wasn't even a big. They'll just come back, slide in, beat, and then go home. Like, you know, like it wasn't even a big deal anymore. Bro, I just lost it, and then from that, like I remember the decline. I just stopped. I didn't purchase anymore. I stopped playing. The consoles in there somewhere. It's collecting dust.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm telling you, I lose sense of self.
Yeah, you were defeated at that point.
Defeated, brother. GTA, you know, man. You know, Call of Duty. I only play Call of Duty like I finished it in one day, one time. But it was on easy.
Call of Duty was
that was a good game.
Halo. Please tell me you played Halo.
I did. I was never any good, but I played Halo.
Halo was, for me, is also nostalgic. Just like the maps, the weapons. Do you remember the purple sword? You remember the purple sword?
Nope.
No? Like 2 spikes. It was a weapon.
No, I'm thinking Lord of the Rings right now.
Dude, I've seen a real one, like a real replica in real life in the Bay Area. Pier 39. You know how they have all those stores there? There's a small store, maybe like an 8 by 10.
Pier 39 got some weird things, brother.
Has some weird things. This one was essentially entirely knives and swords and everything. And it had a replica of that thing hung up, and it was one of the dopest things.
Yeah. How much was it going for?
I don't know, probably a couple hundred, if I don't remember.
Yeah, no, Pier 39 is a weird place. But they got everything for sale. They got like a lightsaber next to a prostitute. It's like 2 for 1. What? Is she gonna wield the power? Like what's?
And you just got I was about to make a seal sound, but like then you just got seals in the background.
Do your best seal impression right now.
I'm just trying to recall how they even sound. I feel like I'm gonna make up.
Oh,
Is that a?
yeah. You know what's funny? That's my first time ever doing one.
No way.
What you mean? You think I walk around practicing? Just walk around. Yo, brother, check my eel out. I mean, check my seal out real quick. That's crazy. By the way, pause. That sounded crazy. Yeah, so I used to play that. My favorite actual toy was a Spider-Man toy car.
Have you ever used the Spider-Man fun spray? Remember, there's like the fun the party sprays, like the string spray. They attached it to like a Spider-Man hand thingy. Have you ever used one of those?
I remember wanting one, but I don't think I ever got one.
Those were cool.
They made one for adults, like one that actually has like 2 pounds worth of pulling force.
That's crazy.
So you do that, and it can pull 2 pounds worth of stuff.
Wow.
I just really wanted it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what would you, maybe a bag of chips?
Yeah, exactly. It won't be much. But dude, just like, where's the remote? Dude, 14-year-old me go crazy over there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
14-year-old you. I mean, you were probably 2 pounds.
14?
Yeah.
Oh, I was a big boy. I was a big boy.
I need to see a picture.
I was a big boy. 2 pounds? That's breakfast. But dude, there was a statement here that I wrote.
I gotta see pictures of you as a kid, dude.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll show you some. There was 2 guys arguing online on Twitter about like their favorite superheroes growing up, and one guy was Spider-Man and one was Power Rangers. Okay. And then everyone's calling the Power Ranger like the Power Ranger dude lame, and they're calling him names or whatever. And bro, he had this funny ass tweet. Let me read this here, bro. He goes, he goes, there's a reason Power Rangers aren't relevant anymore, because they killed all their ops. Has Spider-Man even got the guy that killed his uncle? How do you have superpowers and your uncle got touched? I'm a normal human. All my uncles are fine.
That's a pretty... He really thought about it.
He really thought about it. He's like, dude, your superhero has family problems. I'm a regular guy. I don't even got those problems.
Power Rangers aren't regular people, though.
What do you mean?
Like when they not transform, but like when they become Power Rangers, aren't they like, don't they get like powers?
No, you're missing the point. The point is like he's saying.
I get the point.
Okay, so why would you ask such? That's like a kid answering 5 when the answer is like 40. And he's like, no, I got it though. Like, no, you don't.
Because the thing that you mentioned in the tweet was that he said the Power Rangers don't have superpowers and you have superpowers.
No, I didn't say that.
Look, read it.
Power Rangers don't have. What are you talking about, bro? You crazy.
Go ahead.
There's a reason Power Rangers aren't relevant anymore, because they killed all their ops. Okay. Has Spider-Man even got the guy that killed his uncle? How do you have superpowers and your uncle got touched? Meaning Power Rangers had superpowers, but
I see.
nobody hurt them. Man, you wildin', bro.
You're right.
All right. Let's get this episode started, brother. So, yeah, last episode for move on, but
yes, sir. Speaking about Zaid ibn Haritha.
Yes, sir.
Radiyallahu an.
Yes, man. I'll be pleased with him.
I mean,
so you wanna start us off, or?
No, go for it.
Okay. So what I know from what I've gathered in my
scientist research,
you know what I'm saying, is he's from a tribe from Yemen.
Student of knowledge,
if you want to call it that.
Definitely not. Never.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, I felt that was an attack, but that's fine. He's from a tribe in Yemen, and there's 2 branches to this major tribe. One of them is the Qatani tribe, and one's the Adnani tribe. And so the Prophet Sallallahu is from the Adnani tribe, and he's from the Qatani tribe. So, long story short, Zayd's mother and father, they're from 2 different like sub-tribes, if you want to call it. And they always used to have beef. So one time, Zayd's mom takes him back to her family, and just so happens that they are beefing at that time, and members of her tribe kidnap Zayd. Even though his mom is like in their tribe, they're like, this is revenge against his father, who's from the opposing tribe, because men, basically your lineage is your father,
right?
They kidnapped this 7/8-year-old kid, and sold him into slavery.
Yeah.
You know how crazy that is?
Yeah.
That is insane to me, dude. You can imagine like me and you just arguing. And then one, I just stand up like, yo, who got $450? This dude's for sale. And people just come in and take, like, that is the furthest you can take an argument, like a beef, sold into slavery.
Yeah, you know, what I think is crazy, until this moment, I haven't gotten myself to watch the movie, but have you heard of the movie Freedom something? Fighting for Freedom?
No, I've never heard of that movie. What is that?
It was about like the human trafficking, but more specific child trafficking, and how prevalent it actually is in our society.
You know, I don't want to watch that. That's like downloading, you know, the neighbor app or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't want to know that my next door neighbor just got murked. I don't want to know that.
The neighbor app is nice.
I don't download it. I don't want to know how much crime I'm living amongst.
Why crime? What good stuff? Maybe people are selling stuff too on there. I mean,
sir, that's not getting on the app. You want to hear that there was a stabbing 4 meters from your house? I don't want to hear that.
I've never.
I'm just saying, if I downloaded it and I saw that, I don't want to see that. Dude, 3 doors down, my neighbor on Christmas killed his wife, shot her in the head, and then hung himself. 2 doors down to the left. In America. No, not in this house.
Oh, okay, the other house.
In the other house. 2 doors down. I came out. I was going to school at the time. I came out and I saw all these news people. I was just trying to get on TV. I was like, yeah, man, you know,
this is crazy.
Condolences, man. I didn't even know what condolences meant. I just know some. That's what you say, you know. Yeah, man. Bob. Circumbobulate. Yeah. But it was so crazy. It was over like apparently money. So anyway, they had some money issues around Christmas.
Human trafficking. Huge, and child trafficking in specific, and I try to wrap my head around the level of evil people need to be in. Even if you look at, like, again, and relating back to the story, right? It's like this concept of like child pornography, this concept of like child trafficking, for that even to be able to take place. Evil really exists in that depth, and people are so isolated and in their bubbles that that type of concept is even hard to fathom, but it exists even nowadays. And some people, to the extent where they actually sell their children.
Their own children.
Their own children.
Wait, out of what? Out of the love for money?
Love of money, necessity of money, maybe the way they grew up, that's like normal, like, hey, yeah, like here's, you know, like, but it's,
oh my God,
they sell their children to the streets. It's crazy. And that's rough. Like, yeah, like you have things, India, huge aspect of like the brothels where like people are just putting their daughters out. Just
yeah.
And then you have it's everywhere, unfortunately.
So Zaid was sold at one of the largest markets,
and it was quick. It was a quick flip.
What?
They grabbed him, took him to the market, sold him right away because they want to exchange hands very quickly, so it's not tracked back.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and he was sold to who is it? His name was Hakim Ibn Hazm.
The nephew.
The nephew of Khadija.
Yeah.
And so Khadija gave him money and said, go get me a young servant. Basically, a young slave. I need a servant. This is pre-Islam.
And and back then, Khadija Anha was obviously, she had a lot of money. But she didn't have, like, she could have, especially in that culture, it was normal to have servants and slaves around you to help you with different errands and things like that. And she's from a noble family, and she had a lot of money, and yet she didn't have slaves or servants. Essentially, he was the first, right? And it was because she just genuinely needed help around the house.
Yeah.
Right? It goes just to show her level of, like, not looking to necessarily degrade or be this person of, like, power and so on and so forth, like the other people were.
That begs to question, if you had...
Go ahead.
Would you...
I ain't holding back.
Would you buy a slave?
Ooh, I got butterflies when you asked me that question. Butterflies.
I'm not on the...
Would you accept?
You couldn't afford me, brother. Your wildest dreams. But you know what's scary about the Zaid situation? He wasn't sold to like anyone like he knew. It was a different land altogether. Imagine getting sold
Yeah.
to a place where like you don't even know how much you're going for.
I mean, you don't know what they're gonna even do
with you.
Like
Like
because
it's a new weird land. You don't know. Like I know this is kind of crazy, but that like if I didn't know my worth, like I'd do a number on my self confidence. Like if I need to know
but
that.
you also have to think of the norms back then as well. And then he's a kid. There's so many factors that play. SubhanAllah. Like
If I knew I was going for like 1,600 and I knew you was going for like 3, I'm not letting you sit next to me. You bring down the property value. Say, go find your own shade. like stupid thought. Anyway, what were you saying? So, okay, he was sold and then Khadija bought him. And guess what? How he landed in the Prophet's hands.
I saw some gifted.
Gifted during marriage. Yeah, the wedding gift.
But why?
What do you mean? Oh, I don't know why.
It
Why?
was because essentially the Prophet ﷺ built a very strong relationship with Zaid, right? In the sense of he took Zaid like his own son. Even though Zaid was probably, they say like between 10 and 15 years younger than the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ grew very fond of him and treated him like his son, to the extent that his nickname was the beloved of the Prophet ﷺ. That was his nickname.
Did not know that.
Yeah. And when Khadija saw that love the Prophet ﷺ has for Zaid, she gifted Zaid to the Prophet ﷺ.
After he was gifted to Prophet ﷺ and he was, I guess he worked for the Prophet, Zayd's father is looking for him.
I mean, yeah, let's pause for a moment, right? And step back and say, I mean, from day one, the moment he was gone, you can imagine the heartache his mom and his dad are going through. So from day one, they're already just on search mode, looking, trying to figure out what happened,
and
where did he go.
And you can't grieve because like if you knew he died, you could grieve. But that what if he's out there?
And actually, his dad, and again, he was gone. Zayd was gone for years, but his dad actually would write poetry. His dad would write poetry about Zayd. Like, so he would step out of the house or, step out of his tent or his home and begin to say different poetry. And along the lines of saying, I just want to know, are you alive or are you dead? I want to know, where is Zayd now?
Yeah.
Did he die on earth? Did he die in the mountains? If he died, how did he die? Essentially, like, again, going through the grieving process of like, I want closure.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Like, losing someone's hard enough,
But
not knowing.
So, bro, I've thought about that. One of the most gut-wrenching feelings just thinking about it. Like, God forbid, my daughter got kidnapped. Ya Allah, I don't know. I would melt. I would, like,
You'd be alive, but you wouldn't be
like
there,
dude, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Oh man, it's just such a scary feeling.
I've seen people like that. Like literally, they're walking, but they're dead inside.
Ya Allah. Yeah.
So, may Allah protect us, man. That's crazy.
So yeah, but they continue to look for Zayd continuously.
And then they get wind that he's in Mecca because somebody noticed that he wasn't, because they had specific slaves at the market, and they just noticed that he was from a different area, and so apparently the description maybe from the poet.
So no, this was actually when they recognized him. This was years later. It's still before the Prophet ﷺ.
Oh, subhanAllah.
Yeah, it's still before the Prophet was a prophet.
Oh, I understand that, but he was already
enslaved.
He was already enslaved to the Prophet ﷺ.
To the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And then they noticed him because he had different features from all the other slaves. They're like, oh, this is the one.
But where did they notice him?
I don't know.
In Mecca.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You want to tell the story, brother?
No, I thought you were saying they recognized him in the slave market where he was bought.
Oh, no. I know, like in the lands. Yeah, they're like, yo, this guy looks such and such. So then it went back to his father.
He was on the darker side, actually.
Was he?
Yeah.
I thought they had a bunch of slaves from like Abyssinia and stuff like that. So
but
he
was a
the
darker
light
complexion. He was.
Were you there?
I watched the video. That's what they're saying.
What are you talking about?
You
I
know,
watched him.
you know the movie Risala?
No, brother. First of all, what slavery video did you watch?
I've watched many.
You was on in the auction or something. You was just like, yo, 200. I lost out.
Just acting.
Yeah. Okay. You're Stockton.
Acting.
Oh, acting. I thought you said, yeah, I was there selling slaves in Stockton.
No, I wouldn't put it past Stockton.
Past Stockton
Yeah.
for sure. Lodi, 100%.
Yeah, some underground stuff for sure. No, but what I was saying is I was watching one of the videos that was describing the story of Zaid ibn Haritha. And that was one of the misconceptions that he's depicted as someone who's light skinned and so on and so forth, but he wasn't. He was actually on the darker side, and that was from specific narrations from Zaid and his son Usama.
Oh, I see. Okay, and then basically they say, oh, he's in Mecca, he's enslaved to such and such, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At the time, he wasn't a prophet, and then they get there. Him and the father and his uncle, father and his brother,
took all their money,
and said they find the prophet in the Kaaba, right? And they're like, praising him. This is for prophethood. They're praising him for the other reason of wanting to strike a deal.
Yeah,
like, look, we got as much money as we have, but be just with us. We just want to take our son back who was wrongfully sold into slavery. Now here they've got no right. Like, there's no law here.
Right.
He was sold into slavery. He's now a property of someone else. There's no exchange. There's no let's trace this back and give everyone their own.
Yeah. No DNA testing.
So anyone at that point who owned Zaid could have just been like, "No, we cool."
Right.
Or, I'm not giving him to you for less than 100 camels or something like that. And then you want to tell the rest?
Yeah, and they took all their money. They go there, and like you said, they're trying to soften up the Prophet ﷺ and compliments and saying like, hey, you come from a people who you guys take care of the orphans, you guys watch over, and trying to praise them, right? And so the Prophet ﷺ says, call Zaid. He brings him over, and the Prophet ﷺ wants to make sure these guys are not trying to pull a fast one. So he's like, Zaid, do you recognize these people? He's like, yeah, that's my father and that's my uncle, because he was old enough to remember all of that, right? And so he says, okay, you're free. You're free. You can go with them. So Zaid is like, do I
wait? No, he gave him the option. He said them when they came to him, they're like, you know what? If this is what you want, I'm gonna ask him. If he accepts, he'll go with you, and I'm not gonna take $1 from you.
Yeah.
But if he says he wants to stay, I'm not gonna turn him away from me.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, great, cool, because they're like, what son wouldn't choose his father?
Yeah, especially after all that.
Dude, instantaneously, when he was given the choice between staying with the Prophet and going back with his dad, he's like, nah, I choose the Prophet.
Yeah.
Basically, in his own words. And they're like, have you lost your mind? Like, basically, you want to stay here enslaved, no rights? You don't want to be a free man with your family in your land? He was like, I've seen from him, this man, the likes I've never seen before, basically the way he treats him. I choose him. And at that time, the Prophet ﷺ took his hand and goes to the Kaaba, makes an announcement, basically says, I testify that this is now my son. I've adopted him, and he will inherit from me, and I'll inherit from him. Basically, he's a Qurayshi now. And he did this in front of the father. For the main reason I'm saying, look, even when you go back home, you have the reassurance that your son is a free man now, and he walks around and he has rights and he's respected and he has protection, status with the Qurayshis. So, but I would have been so upset if he did it instantaneously, because making decisions are hard just in general. Like, if I was his dad, I'd be like, you don't want to take another minute and just think about it, maybe?
I'm even thinking like, naturally, you'd assume he's giving his dad a big hug. He's crying. Of course, again, all that detail, we don't know. Maybe that did happen. We don't have those details for Allahu Alam, whatever reasons. But I can also just imagine that reunion. Like, regardless of how much you love a person, meaning how much he loved the Prophet ﷺ, who, again, at the time was not a prophet, making that clear, right?
Crazy, yeah, exactly.
I still think there was probably such a high tense of emotions. But people are different too. Societies are different. The way people are, like, they're raised. We're so used to how we express our emotions, like when you miss someone and so on and so forth. that's not necessarily the case back then. So who knows how he reacted at first sight. That's what I'm trying to think. Like, was it at first sight he just walked up next to the Prophet, is that your dad? Oh yeah, that's my dad. You want to go with him? No. Like, right? That's how it's.
Did they do high fives?
Right? Like,
yeah. Like at weddings, like they do this weird thing where like they make you like drink like milk or something. They got twist hands and stuff. Like there's a weird
the husband
customs.
and wife. You mean?
Yeah. They do that. They got feed people dates. You ever walk into a house and somebody just throws a date in your mouth?
No.
No? Even for Ramadan?
No.
If you've been invited to iftar as you walk in, you're late.
Oh,
and they just like, yo, you're here. And then they just, yeah?
But not put a date in my mouth. No, they'll hand it to me.
Oh, brother, you have not lived.
That's wild.
You have not lived.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Nah, they probably think they own you. Well, whose house was you going to?
You think they feed people they own?
That
like
keep
that?
you strong.
Yeah, that's a good one. I ain't got no background. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they probably put your plate on the floor, didn't they?
I mean,
I got fed.
Hey, if it was a challenge, I would have taken it.
What, to eat upside?
Oh, floor. Yeah.
Could you imagine your like, for example, your daughter choosing someone over you? I mean, besides your wife, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to rap. Why?
Sometimes I'm her enemy.
Oh, yeah, in those moments, I guess.
Baba, I'm not gonna talk to you no more.
Oh, yeah? Has she gone to her room and paced back and forth and like, I'm running away? Like, you ever done that?
Don't talk to me.
That's how
What did she say? I'm gonna tell Mama on you. I'm gonna tell everybody on you.
Are you good cop or bad cop most of the time?
Hybrid.
But
like
if you have to give me a split, 50-50?
Yeah, I'd say 50-50. Mm-hmm. Pretty solid 50-50. I wanted to be like a 70-30, 80-20, meaning like 80% good cop and 20. But given the dynamics of wife being in school, all that stuff, I have to take that on
a little bit more. Yeah. I feel it.
Yeah, and then obviously my mom, my dad, they play like super good cop sometimes.
Oh, the grandparents.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
That dynamic is interesting.
So, Zayd's not free.
Yeah.
And he's so free that as like a sign, the Prophet tells him to marry. Before this, his first wife, who he was married to, he was actually married to the foster mom of the Prophet, because they're both slaves. They're in the slave class. They're able to marry each other. Like a noble woman wouldn't be able to marry a slave man, for example.
No, but that wasn't the first one, was it?
Yeah, right.
I have to double check. The reason I say that is because
he married Zainab afterwards.
The first one was after the prophethood, right?
Zayd married actually 6 women total in his lifetime.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'm not sure about the timelines here, but I remember he did marry someone in the slave class.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both in the slave class, so they were able to marry. At that time, noble women weren't going to marry slave men, etc., and vice versa. But he married Ayman, who's basically the foster mom of the Prophet ﷺ. You have a story about how or why they got married, because she was older than him.
Yeah, because when you think about it, one, like you said, she was slave class. At that point, Zaid ibn Haritha is free, right? And he's considered the son of the Prophet ﷺ.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, she's an older woman. Hence, she was the foster mom, right? The Prophet ﷺ, like she helped raise him, help raise the Prophet ﷺ. So naturally, a person's going to ask, why would this young man marry this slave class woman, and she's really old? Well, the Prophet ﷺ said, she is from the women of Jannah. So Zayd wanted to marry her. The moment the Prophet ﷺ said that, he wanted to be married to someone who was essentially guaranteed Jannah. Right? And so that's how that marriage kind of came about.
Okay. And then he married the Prophet's Zainab. That was when Zayd was free also, because he's no longer in the slave class. He was able to marry a noble woman, and that was the cousin of the Prophet was Zainab. Long story short, this marriage doesn't end up working out. They've had their issues. Months and months later, the Prophet ﷺ was actually instructed to marry her. And they didn't even need witnesses for this. It was documented by Allah. Basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala performed the nikah, basically, which is crazy. But yeah, pretty much Zayd's life after that, you know, he was given status. So every time he went on like expeditions, at least 10, he was always in charge. He never had anyone in charge of him, which is another sort of like a sign of status that he gained from the Prophet ﷺ, adopting him. And then he ends up dying in the Battle of Mu'tah. And some of the blessings from him is he had a child. His name was Osama, and he was raised, the only child raised in the Prophet ﷺ's house, right? Or an only boy? Only boy.
No, because you also had Anas ibn Malik, I believe, who was younger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay.
Who was almost gifted to the Prophet ﷺ by Anas's mom, so that he can serve the Prophet ﷺ. So a lot of ahadith we got from him.
And Zayd is the only Sahaba mentioned in the Quran by name. By name, subhanAllah. Not even Abu Bakr got that. So what a blessing, man, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of his story. That mean everything I've listened to and sort of gathered. And then moving on to the...
I would say also
I'll cut that part out.
I would say also with the son of Zayd, which is Usama, the Prophet ﷺ loved Zayd so much, and that love didn't stop there, right? The nickname of Zayd was the beloved of the Prophet ﷺ, and then Usama's nickname was essentially like the beloved of the Prophet ﷺ, or like the son of the beloved of the Prophet ﷺ. Like it was also attached, it came down. And they would say that the Prophet ﷺ treated him exactly, if not better, than how he treated his other grandchildren. Right? So he took Usama as if it was like his own grandchild as well, and how he treated him, to the point where they said, if you wanted the Prophet ﷺ to hear you, you tell Usama to go tell him. Right? Like if you want to get in the ear of the Prophet ﷺ, you go tell Usama, and he'll go deliver the message. Right? And to the extent, Umar radhiallahu anhu, after the Prophet ﷺ passes away, fast forward, used to give Usama like extra money.
Oh yes, I remember this.
And his Umar radhiallahu anhu's son is like, why are you doing that?
You're my dad.
Yeah, right. Like, but it wasn't out of like, hey, give me too, like give me more. It was just like he was just curious why.
Yeah.
And so then he tells him, he's like, do you not know who his father is? He's the beloved of the Prophet ﷺ. Do you not know that he also led us in an army? And that was when there was a person who was young that was assigned to lead an army.
Yeah.
And in that army were all the older Sahaba, but in them was a younger person.
I believe what he mentioned was like, he's like, the reason why I'm paying him more is because he was more beloved to the Prophet ﷺ, and his father was more beloved by the Prophet ﷺ than your father.
Yeah.
So he's more beloved to the Prophet than you are, and his father's more beloved to the Prophet than I am. So this is kind of
and
out
that's
of respect.
I also think, look at how humble he was to say that. He was more beloved to the Prophet than I am. Like Umar radhiallahu anhu didn't have this like this ego, this big head to say like, oh, even though Prophet ﷺ, Abu Bakr, Umar. When you look at like Khilafah, when you look at like people who were a part of so much of the Prophet ﷺ's life, yet they never let their ego get inflated with that. Right? It's like, subhanAllah.
And there's a fact here. When he did, I missed out. When he did get freed, the son of Umar said, I didn't know that Zayd ibn Haritha wasn't Zayd ibn Muhammad. I thought that's all he was. Just from the way the Prophet ﷺ treated him, I thought that was his actual son.
Right.
So later in Surah Ahzab, that's it. Verse 5, Allah instructed basically that children should be called by their father's name, right? And then that's when he went back to Zayd ibn Haritha. Fun fact. So
it was interesting. That's where a lot of the adoption, the Islamic law for adoptions and things come
Derived
from,
from,
is all from this story. It's pretty amazing.
So that was Zaid ibn Haritha.
Radiyallahu an. May Allah be pleased with him.
I mean. And we're pretty much going to leave off on this for the season, but we want to leave you guys with a preview of what's to come, inshallah. And that's basically the early days of prophethood.
Prophethood, man.
So,
Subhanallah.
a lot of it is narrated by Aisha.
Yeah, Allah anha.
Yeah, our mother. And actually, funny enough, there was a hadith, 51 in Bukhari, that shows the details, like a detailed explanation of the first, the early days of just before Wahy, and just after. And it was so specific. And it's funny because Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, wasn't even born when the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet.
Yeah.
So how would he know? How would she know this? This is how much they spoke.
Yeah.
The details that he has, meaning like he has these long conversations with his wife, like, as a loving husband. Not like, yeah, and then one day I was a prophet, and then the next day it's like stop asking me questions. It's just like, it wasn't that. Like they sat and they broke bread, they talked. SubhanAllah. So
yeah,
it's a very long hadith.
Yeah, which reminds me, SubhanAllah, even just to reflect on myself, right? Is like how do we interact nowadays with the people that we love that are close to us, and how sometimes myself are so dismissive of these conversations because we're too busy in the hustle and bustle of what we're trying to get. And it's like understanding that the Prophet ﷺ gave us a framework, gave us a model, gave us such a beautiful way to really live our lives with a sense of purpose and not get too caught up in the weeds of life. Right? Like if he was the commander of the ummah, and he was able to provide all of these resources and time and effort, let's study this man's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, like let's do our best to learn and understand what our purpose is through him and through his example. And that's what I'm more excited than anything about, is just to see, man, subhanAllah, his journey and the tears, the blood, the sweat, the happiness, the sickness. He went through all of it.
This is why I'm so happy to see it more than anything else, because at one point we want to do certain books. Imam Ghazali, what's the book called?
Beginning of Guidance.
I want to go into all of that, and hopefully you guys, join us for the journey and support us, inshallah. But the seerah, man, it's just, subhanAllah, it's so. I remember the first time I read it, dude, I was on a high for the better part of a year. Excuse me, for like 9 months, I remember my life just feeling different. Just knowing a human could live like that. SubhanAllah. And like the balance, because even when we think we have balance, it's what we believe balance is.
Right.
Like, half the time you spend with our family, half the time at work. And in your mind, that might be balance.
Right.
But the whole framework, SubhanAllah, it's different, man.
Yeah. I have like a mentor, and he always talks about this concept called adaptive learning. That throughout your life, and throughout anything, whether it's managing a company, managing people, managing your family, whatever it is, you have to be adaptive. There is no just, this is how you do it. You are going to have to learn how to adapt to the different reactions that you're getting that you couldn't calculate for. You could say something perfectly well, the truth. You did everything to, quote unquote, you're calculated. But the reaction you got was, whoa, how are you going to adapt to that? How are you going to react to that? The Prophet ﷺ was like the embodiment of being adaptive to whatever environment he was in and to whoever he was interacting with. Whether it was someone who was poor, someone who was rich, someone who was a slave, someone who was not, someone who was illiterate, and so on and so forth. Like educated, not educated, you name it. Male, female, kids, animals, subhanAllah, like everything. And there was actually a time where this was a story about, like, in the time of the scholars, right? Where a man came to make fun of a scholar and say, your prophet talks to you guys about how to do this and this and this. Like, he's so detailed about all it. He's like, yeah.
I think it's about using the bathroom?
Yes. He's like, yeah, he actually even taught us how to use the bathroom. The beauty in that, actually, he took essentially the scholar turned this quote unquote insult into a compliment. What are you trying to insult? The man taught us how to live a proper, healthy lifestyle to the extent that we even knew how he used the bathroom. Don't come and question us about how we know our Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You over here stank.
You over here with skid marks and skittles and all this.
Skid marks in your drawers is crazy work, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. May Allah help us. That was a great way to wrap up the season, you know, Sira and skid marks.
We look forward to y'all tuning in.
Yes, sir. And we're going to have like hopefully like a get together or like a Zoom or something, because we want to get some advice and see what season 2 has in store for us, and we'll take some advice on, you know, from here on to the next season, inshallah. So this is a good way to end season 3, I should say. We're hoping to get people in a phone call on Zoom and sort of get your guys' take on how this went. Take some of that advice and put it into the next season, and then hopefully have you guys support us.
Yeah, I think more than anything is, hey, we're going to open the door. We're going to give an opportunity for anyone who's watching and loves what they're seeing, that wants to support it financially, literally, to say, hey, we love the content. We want you guys to keep creating this content. And this is a show of support. So
a couple of dollars up to whatever you got. Some of y'all rich.
And I think we'll have more clear numbers of, hey, for the next, hopefully we'll have a roadmap of what we want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe have something where we can have someone sponsor a season, for example.
Yeah.
So inshallah, but looking forward to that. Good way to end this, inshallah.
Sure.
We'll see you guys on the next season, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.